live. Okay, so can you tell us your name, please?
Yes, my name is Dale Robinson, and I live in Tallahassee, Florida.
Yes, that's where we are today. Now, you are a retired nurse, RN, correct?
That's correct.
Could you tell us what kind of a nurse you were?
Well, I did elder care, psych, and uh, a little bit of children's health.
Okay, and you want to talk about your experience going through the COVID era, as we now call it. So tell us from your perspective.
Well, it really started in 2020 when COVID was starting to make the rounds, and I started out. I was retired by then. I was not working as a registered nurse at that time, but had a few years of retirement prior to that year 2020, and I started trying to inform my friends about why I wasn't interested in the vaccine, that I was more interested in natural immunity. I'd rather go ahead and get COVID and just kind of get the natural immunity to it, which I had been reading was a very effective way of dealing with the with COVID and COVID SARS infection. So having worked for 35 years as a registered nurse, I had my own judgments about flu vaccines and other vaccines in the past, but I was really not real happy with the COVID vaccine because it was warp speed, and it just seemed like it was way too fast, and I didn't like the way it was rolled out. I didn't like the messages. They were changing a lot, and it seemed kind of reactive approach. And then I started really drilling down on all the different remedies and treatments that one could use to both protect themselves from COVID and to, if you did, get the vaccine, how you could help yourself even with that if you had a side effect. And what we found was that our friends didn't want to talk to us about that, and they really didn't want us to come around if we weren't vaccinated. Many a event happened where they said, if you're not vaccinated, please don't come, and we were like, okay, well, that's that, we can't go. And anytime we brought the subject up or tried to have a discussion or even send information to our friends, they would say, I'm good, something like that, or not even respond at all. Like they really didn't want to hear about it. So, which was very strange because usually we're on the same page both politically and socially with a lot of our friends, and we thought, well, yeah, they're gonna understand this, and we can have a discussion about it and maybe debate the pros and cons. But it just wasn't the case. Very few people even wanted to talk about it, and they were really in the mindset of, I'd rather forget about it than try to take any kind of concerted strategy or effort to find out what was going on. Also, what happened during COVID, right up until now, and it's still happening now, is I had a brother who had myocarditis, came out of nowhere after his vaccines. My wife's sister had Bell's palsy, and we were starting to hear all these stories about, neurological problems, heart problems, immune system problems, a lot of stuff like that really concerned me. And we heard more and more stories, and people we were talking to, they'd talk about long COVID, and they'd talk about, I've had this adverse effect after I got the vaccine. I had a reaction to the vaccine. I didn't feel good. My neighbor just told me 2 weeks ago, he said, ever since I got the vaccines, I haven't felt right. And this is a guy who's really healthy. And I 75-year-old, and I said, well, Paul, what do you think it was? He said, well, all I can think of is that after the vaccines, I never felt right. So even that statement 2 weeks ago, which he finally told me, and he's my next door neighbor, we've tried to have conversations about it before, but never really got much information from him, because what we thought basically was once somebody was vaccinated, they really didn't want to talk about it. That was our impression. They just wanted it to go away, shut it down, forget it, and That's good. If if you, in my opinion, if you want to have your head in the sand, but it's not a good way of having a constructive debate about the pros and cons of the vaccine. We're also pretty much aware that we think that the vaccine, from the data that's coming out, is that it was made in a lab in Wuhan and other labs around the world. And I just, there's a long history. It's starting to come out, and you can see how the dots are connected to where we are today. So we're really informed through, Mercola, Malone, Team Kennedy, and of course CHD, which we've been very supportive of since we found out, that all the things that you were doing. The only other thing I can say is that we're very disappointed with the current government stand, and I wasn't too happy when Trump was doing the warp speed for the vaccine either. Definitely had a complete turnaround with Dr. Fauci. At first I thought Dr. Fauci knew what he was talking about and maybe was trying to at least help people through a difficult time, but I now realize that there's a whole lot more to that story. So having read The Real Anthony Fauci by Robert F. Kennedy Jr. really helped me understand why I needed to rethink Dr. Fauci's whole thing. And of course, we're very interested in that none of these guys will stand up and talk about it now. They won't debate anybody. We're not seeing this information on the news. As a matter of fact, the news is full of the pharmacies pushing more and more vaccines, and we're seeing just more and more problems with people having side effects to the vaccines and to getting serious harm long term, it appears. It's already happened in my family and in my wife's family, and we know other people who have ongoing issues. So,
do you think that people like your neighbour and some of these people you've spoken about, do you think they're starting to put two and two together? Do you think they were getting there, or do you think some people are just never going to get it?
Yeah, well, I'm an optimist, thinking that people are going to put it together, that eventually with the information coming out and more people talking about it, and that's why I'm here to share my thoughts on it. Yeah, I think they will eventually get it, but it's a slow process because the media is just pounding us with more and more information about why you should be vaccinated and how important it is, and the childhood immunization schedule is just, it's just off the chain. They've got just way too many things going on trying to push these vaccinations, and I think they need to rethink that and look at the history, look at the data, and come to a conclusion. Yes, I'm optimistic that people will eventually hear it.
One of the most powerful things that we're seeing on this tour is your profession, the nurses coming and sitting where you are now, and especially the ones that worked during COVID in the ICU and stuff. They're so brave, and they're speaking so well about the horrors of what really happened in the hospitals during COVID.
Yeah.
But they all say the same thing, that there's so many that could come out, obviously, and speak. What do you think they're afraid of?
Well, a lot of them are afraid of their jobs. They're afraid of their income, the choices that they would have to make when the powers that be come down on them for having any questions about the current narrative that vaccines are good for you, and that the treatments for COVID are one way and one way only. I mean, this is obviously not a fact. It's obviously not helpful. It's obviously, people are afraid. So because of that fear, they're probably, a lot of them aren't going to come out and say much. And we know a lot of people who were forced to be take the vaccine, especially if they were working for the federal government or subcontracted by the government. They had no choice. They was either, take the vaccine or you lose your 401 and you lose your everything that you've worked for all these years. And we had a lot of people telling us that was the case for them, that they were forced to take it. and didn't have any choice but wish that they didn't have to do it.
So now you did not take the shot.
No, I am unvaccinated.
Did you get the so-called COVID?
I did. I got it once for sure. Or well, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, because you want to test.
I
Right?
didn't want to test, of course. I didn't want to put those chemicals in. My wife got it also, and she tested positive for hers, and then I got it from her. And so I had it at least once, maybe twice. And it wasn't fun. It was 2 weeks of hell, and then it was over.
Because you're alive. Do you have myocarditis?
No,
Do you have any paralysis anywhere? Tremors?
no, no,
Okay. It's
no.
like doing the vax on vax study all over again.
Yes, yes. No, we were really lucky, and I think it's because we live a very healthy lifestyle and pay attention to medicines and pharmaceuticals, and having worked in that field for so long, it just gave me an insight that we needed to be really careful. And fortunately we were retired, so we weren't put in a situation where we were forced by our job to take the COVID vaccines.
Is there anything else you want to say to the people listening to you right now?
Just that I really appreciate everything that anyone does to stand up and try to talk about it in a way that would open people's minds to the possibility that we've been told untruths, that we've been harassed, and basically not given the opportunity to make our own decisions public, let alone with our friends. I just think that I admire anyone who would take the time to stand up and speak what their experience was, and to get in touch with other people, our lawmakers and people in different situations that have gone through different scenarios of this whole COVID experience. But I really appreciate the people like yourselves, like CHD, like what Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has done and is continuing to do. I appreciate Mercola. I appreciate Malone. I don't agree with everything that everybody's saying all the time, but I like that I'm getting information that I normally will not ever hear on mainstream media. So I appreciate you all for everything that you do, and I really would like to let people know if they're hurting with side effects to COVID or long-term effects to COVID, you can turn it around. You just need to probably listen to what some of the people like Dr. McCullough has to say, and look at the different treatment protocols and regimens that they're recommending, because I think they will help people, and there's a good chance that you can get over any side effect to this vaccine.
Well, thank you so much for sitting there and talking to us, and your words of wisdom. We truly
Thank
appreciate
you.
you making the effort to come here today.
Thank you very much.